Hi, I'm Harry Turner from AusIMM. Today I'm sitting down with Jon Garnaut, Operations Manager at Ausenco. Jon is an experienced operations manager, electrical engineer and asset optimisation specialist in the mining industry. We wanted to find out a bit more about Jon's career journey, his experience in operational readiness, and how he drives continuous improvements in his teams. Welcome, Jon. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for the introduction.
Jon, can you tell me about your professional background and how you arrived at your current role with Ausenco?
In entering my role, I went in and studied electrical engineering, and at the same time, I also studied a business management degree. The driver for this, I think it was just because I had a father and a grandfather who were Sparkies, but also the practicality of how we implement engineering solutions was what drove me to do that. I was fortunate enough in the early part of my career to work directly on the asset owner side. And the second half of my career, I've been working on the consulting side. So in that asset owner side, I was fortunate enough there to enter a role largely in the operations and maintenance realm. But in that realm, I've been able to do roles such as like a field engineer and crawl through drag lines. I've been a reliability and a scheduling and a planning type of role. I've managed to do statutory compliance as a role and capital projects as well. So I've had a full broad spectrum on the asset owner side. And then I joined Ausenco about 6 years ago. So through that, it's been able to apply the skills I've learnt there into the consulting side. And with that, I've been able to broaden my commodity base. So working right across the mining sector as well as the bulk material handling in jurisdictions and in places I'd never dreamed. So right across Australia, throughout PNG. I spent a year in Canada and finally back here in Australia looking after our APAC team.
Jon, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your role. What does operational readiness mean and what factors play a part in it?
Realistically, what operational readiness is about, it's about what can we do today to set us up for operations in the future. So there are things that I can do today to achieve my operations and my desires from day one, and how do we effectively do it? So that's what operations readiness, I suppose, means. And there's a range of factors that affect it. In the current day and age, with the price of capital money, with the influence that we have in specifically the ESG and the safety space, the renewed focus in those spaces, right through to, I suppose, the political and the geographical areas we work, there's a whole realm there of factors that affect the importance of operational readiness. So when we go through, we consider all of those facets together and we have a look at, okay, what are the decisions we need to do now to make sure that we can operate safely, effectively and most efficiently? By minimising the ramp-up time, by maximising our value, by minimising our risk, all of those kind of decision logics.
So how do you go about identifying inefficiencies during that operational readiness assessment?
The inefficiencies in operational readiness come about via a number of reasons. Particularly in the current market where we're seeing an increased M&A activity, there's a lot of new greenfield projects, but also with the price of capital, there's a lot more focused on expansions in brownfield projects. So There's a whole mix of what operational readiness means. And I suppose that idea of efficiency and finding where we need to be, without that guiding light and that North Star, we can head in one of 10 directions and not get to an outcome we need to be. So the first most important step in operational readiness is really defining that, I suppose, strategic objectives and saying, okay, our business needs this operation to go and achieve this particular outcome. And once we have that, I suppose, operational objectives set, our corporate objectives, our health and safety objectives, everything like that, then the actual definition of the steps that we need to take today becomes much easier. The inefficiencies that we kind of see largely come from that non-consistent understanding of our common base. So we'll see inefficiencies by we don't have that clear understanding as a stakeholder group that this is where we need to get to and this is why we do what we do. The inefficiencies will creep in by different opinions not having alignment at that level. So to identify those inefficiencies, that's why it's important for us to build that common base and understanding. And then once we have that, then we can start doing our targeted looks at the specific business lines and the specific needs of our operation.
Jon, what's your approach to stakeholder engagement and change management?
The first important point is regardless how good a plan is, regardless how good, whether I'm doing an asset optimisation plan or operational readiness planning, it might be the best in the world, but without having that stakeholder engagement and walking through the implementation, it might fall over. So regardless how good I do the planning, regardless how well we define things, if we don't have the stakeholder engagement, it won't succeed in the long run. So the way we get that stakeholder engagement, the way we do that in the change management realm is by making sure that we've got that consistent understanding in how we approach it. So we sit down and the biggest success factors are starting early. So the sooner we can get in with our stakeholders, build that common understanding and get in front of them and start to demonstrate why we're doing what we're doing. So building that understanding of that why question, that helps in that stakeholder engagement. To keep our stakeholders engaged, there's a few major things that we do. The first is realising that continuous improvement is real. We need to be able to adapt. We need to be flexible. So what we set today as an outcome might be very different to where it is in a month's time. The things change, particularly in the operational contexts. So we need to realise that things will need continuous improvement and not be guided by the decisions we made yesterday, but making sure it's current for today. So having that continuous improvement feedback loop as part of our change management, as part of continuous improvement and stakeholder engagement is there. The other main driver for really driving good stakeholder engagement is that visibility. So as soon as someone can buy into the outcomes, as soon as they can start to see incremental change starting to be achieved, because often the operational readiness or the asset optimization outcomes might be very long-winded and long life cycle type outcomes where we won't see a miraculous change overnight, but we'll see a change in the organisation over a year or two. So by having that monitoring and that reportability, so we can actually we might not see an effective outcome change, but we can actually see the changes we're making and their impacts to the individual components. As soon as we can start demonstrating that to all of our stakeholders, it gets that buy-in, it gets everyone starting to really believe the change that they're doing and start to be part of that change and really start to get involved.
Beyond technical considerations, what else impacts operational readiness?
Yeah, so operational readiness, it's one of those things that the definition changes depending who you ask, and every project we do is very, very different. So the technical understanding of operational readiness that everyone understands is, okay, how do we do our operations and maintenance? That's the historical kind of thinking and what everyone sees and feels. But operational readiness is much more than that. Operational readiness considers things like our health and safety systems. It considers our logistics and supply systems. We have a look at our people and processes, all of our HR type of systems, down to we have a look at our training and people management. We kind of have a look at our front end engineering and our asset management processes as a business. And really that 360 degree view of an operations is about it. It's more than just its two components. It's the whole spectrum of our day to day and year to year commercial functions and everything like that.
And Jon, how do you approach your professional development?
That's a really good question. In my career, I've been very fortunate to achieve a lot in a very short time. And I've done that by trying to say yes to as many opportunities as presented to me as I can. So that's the first big one. I've managed to get out of my comfort zone quite a bit, approach projects and commodities that I'm not 100% comfortable in and know everything about, but recognising the opportunity and starting to learn quick about it. So that's been a big part of how I've, I suppose, been able to capitalise on a lot of the opportunities presented to me. But another important thing, and particularly in leading the team that I do, it's a multidisciplinary kind of function. Operational readiness and asset optimizations, we have expertise right across the spectrum of operations and maintenance. So it's important to recognise that, I suppose, the sum of our individual components is what makes our team valuable and our contribution valuable. So recognising in myself that I've got an electrical background with, I suppose, some of my commercial understandings, but I need to surround myself with the right people that have a unique understanding from planning and scheduling, or whether it's a process engineering function or a health and safety function. So recognising that together we can achieve much greater than our individual sums. And taking that into how I prioritise what I need to learn and what I need to study. So I try to prioritise the things that I know are my weaknesses, and whether it's an AusIMM kind of talk or whether it's a short course or a diploma, I try to track down those opportunities to really broaden my base to make me become, I suppose, much more understanding in a whole range of aspects. So that's generally how I'd approach my personal development, and how I'd encourage my teams to approach their development as well. It's like recognising that together we're much stronger and we can start learning from each other if when we should, and if the opportunities arises, we need to capitalise on those as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, John. It was fantastic to hear more about your career and some of your technical insights. Be sure to check out our website for all the latest content from AusIMM. Go to www.ausimm.com.